Welcome to Podcast Done For You, the show where we make it as easy as possible for you to make the right choices to advance your podcasting career. So let's get started on the show. Upgrading your podcast equipment, what to buy first to help grow your audience? Well, we have got some really important top 5 tips for you here, but I'm going to defer to one that's not in my top 5. Check this out.
Where should you put your focus when it comes to upping the game with your podcast? The big thing people gravitate towards is technology. Here I am, an AI delivering speech in a conversational manner. In this case, Anthony has manually, the old-fashioned way, typed in the text from the top of his head. Of course, he could have gone to an AI to write something and pasted it in here. Here is the problem with that, and really with me. It is a struggle to make it authentic. If you simply get an AI to write something, it could be the same as anyone else. And how do you even know if it is based on confirmed information rather than having been made up? All that gets us back to our original question here. Where to put your focus if you want to upgrade your podcast equipment? As I throw back to Anthony, I know AI is not in his top 5 list. So to find out what is, well, it is back to the real person behind Podcasts Done For You.
Now, that was a bit of fun, and I can tell you, definitely not investing in AI as the top 5 things to do with upping your podcast equipment. Because if you want to know what to buy first to grow your audience, I'm going to tell you it starts with the number one thing is your microphone, without a shadow of a doubt. The clarity of sound makes all of the difference. And yes, there is stuff you can do in post-production, and we'll come to that later. But if you can start with a great microphone, then that is 100% the way to go. Now, there are a range of microphones that you can get that are good, and we've done a whole episode in the past, and we'll provide a link to that is just about microphones. Now, needless to say, it does depend on how much money you want to spend. And I'll repeat one thing that I say in that particular podcast. If you're using your standard earbuds from Apple and those sorts of companies, they are great for phone calls, not so good for podcasts. Don't use them. I've got a great microphone sitting right above up here. Now, that particular microphone is fantastic, but it's probably overkill for the majority of podcasters. I bought it for a different purpose originally. It's a Zoom H5. It is a fantastic microphone, as well as providing a whole lot of other functionality. But we do recommend a couple of microphones. I will put them in the show notes. You'll have a link to be able to get a hold of a form that has all of the things that I recommend for you to use, with lots of links for you to buy them to make it nice and easy. So let's come off the microphone, because that is by far the number one thing to do. The number 2 thing to make sure that you are doing is don't use Zoom. I'm sorry to all of you fans of Zoom out there, and I'm sorry to Zoom. I love Zoom for meetings. It's not great for podcasts. It's very limiting as to what you can do as far as files are concerned, the quality of things are concerned. It has its real limitations. I highly recommend that you invest in some recording software that is much more purpose-driven. Now, I particularly use one of 2. I use at the moment Descript Squadcast. They're one and the same these days. And I also use Ecamm Live. Now, different purposes for different things. Both of them work really nicely. They are purpose built. And there are other ones like Riverside that lots of people talk about. I'm not the biggest fan of that one, but I think it's a pretty close one for many people. So I just gravitated more towards Ecamm and Squadcast for me, and that's what I recommend. But the point is whether you've chosen one of those 2 or something else like Riverside, then they are all going to do a much better job than Zoom, because they are built for that. One of the things you notice with Zoom is it crunches your bandwidth. It uses so much of it, and it's just very hard to manage that in a really meaningful way. and to get backup recordings and to get recordings that are of high quality, particularly if you're wanting to use video as well. So that brings me to the next thing. If you've ticked off those two things, the next most important thing might surprise some people, but I can tell you this was the best bit of advice that I got from a videographer when I first started podcasting a while back, was to invest in some lights. Now, what am I talking about here? Well, again, I'll put it in the notes. I have a light, particularly here. It is not a particularly expensive light. It's from Newer. It is a big LED. It is about, yay big. If you're watching, it's not huge, but it does have a lot of control. It puts a lot of light on my face. And what's the value of that? It means that the camera does not have to work as hard. And it means that things are being lit up and look half decent. And that's what you want if you are creating a visual experience. So, and remember, even if you're not creating a video-based podcast, if you're just doing it audio, there's a real value in the light, because there are people that you're talking to that are going to see you. You might not be recording the video, but I could almost guarantee the fact that you are in fact talking to people online, and therefore they want to be able to see you. And why not have the video there as well, even if it's just for the reels that you want to create to promote your individual episodes. So definitely lights are a big factor. Lighting up your background as well. There's a couple of lights you can probably see a little bit here. There's a bit of yellow going on there. There's a bit of pink, purple going on there, and a little bit more of a reddish tinge going back there. All of those things are happening in the background. They're just small little investments in lights, but also into what is the number 4 thing on my list, which is the background. Get your background right. Don't go and use a virtual background. Please avoid it like the plague if you can when you are recording video based, and even for just meetings. Even forget the podcast. If you're having a meeting with someone, it's so much nicer to have a visually interesting background rather than just shoving your logo in a generic color, or even worse, a background that looks like some living room or some office that you are never going to be in, and gives people a complete false impression of that. I think the novelty of virtual backgrounds wore off a little while ago. I would steer clear of them. Do an actual genuine background. And I've, again, put in my notes some tips and tricks on what to do and to create that. There's not a huge amount of investment that's going on here in terms of a background and making it look good. A white wall, a simple bookcase that you can buy from a Kmart or anywhere, throw a few books on, a couple of very basic lights that only cost you, sort of around about $30 each, and you've got something that's quite interesting. I've got a sign in the background. You can pick one of those up as well. Make one yourself, as I did, got it designed myself and got it off Amazon. There are lots of things that you can do. You don't have to do a sign, but other things that can make it look a little bit interesting, that can give people an idea of what you are about without having to go to that generic background. So then I come to number 5 on the list, which is, again, I'm assuming that we are now talking in the realm of video. Now, I'm going to say that because if you're upgrading your podcast equipment and what to buy to help grow your audience, well, YouTube plays an important role in that. And I defer to what I said earlier on, that you want reels in the very least to be video based. So even if you're not doing a video based podcast, for the sake of the reels, get a great camera. Now, again, there are lots of different types of cameras that you can get, and even your phone is actually a great camera if you can set that up to be recording for you, and it does a pretty good job. You just have to get that measurement right, because the phone has to be relatively close to you, and of course, you've got that annoying thing of being able to set it up and then going back and sit in the chair and make sure you haven't bumped it and sit at the right place. It's good if you've got an extra person that can come in and make sure it's focused, because you actually want to use the full cameras on the back of the phone rather than the front-facing cameras, which are usually not as good. So that's a tip with the phone is concerned. But look, I would advise you to go and invest a little bit more in a camera if you can afford to do so. I've got a camera that I've got here. We've done an episode on that in the past that we've talked to as well, but I'll also include the links in that in the notes around the camera and what you can choose for that. there really is a whole range of cameras that you can use. I am of the belief that you don't want something that is too overly complicated unless you are a real cameraphile. If you really know how to use a DSLR camera and you enjoy all of that kind of stuff, then there's probably a world of options there, but they're quite expensive, to be honest with you. And I'm not really sure that they're worth the value that you have unless you are really making a true living out of podcasting. Then maybe you want to invest in multiple cameras. But if you want to invest in something simple, well, you can do anything from, a couple of $100s up to sort of around the $1,500 mark, which does a fantastic job. So again, we'll put some information into the show notes about how you can get a hold of that complete list of everything that I believe you need to upgrade your podcast equipment, what to buy first to help grow your audience. All of that is about the quality. That's what comes first, is quality. If you can produce a quality looking piece of visual and audio, then that is a big winner for you. I'm going to give you the bonus tip here in number 6 to help you. Make sure that you are using a really decent editing piece of software that is going to upgrade the way things look, the way things sound. Now, I've got a background in radio. I'm very sensitive to the sound of things, but too often you listen to podcasts and it's very, very obvious that the person has not particularly invested in that microphone or the sound, and it just lets you down. You feel like you're just watching a webinar or spying on a meeting between a couple of people. That's not the look that you want if you want to grow your audience. You want people to feel like it's professional. It doesn't take that much to do it. Yes, there's a little bit of investment in this, and there's a sliding scale of how much you want to invest in these things, but I highly recommend you do that. And definitely, as I said, there's a lot of very great editing pieces of software. Descript is one. The Adobe Suite is another next level piece if you are into that. Or make sure that you get yourself a really great editor. And if you don't want to worry about any of these things, then come talk to us at Podcast Done For You, because we'll help you take care of all of that. That's what we're about. We will take care of helping you with the microphone. You don't have to worry about what you're recording on. We take care of all of that for you. Lights are an easy one that we can point you in that right direction. And background, again, we can help you with that. And well, you'll be surprised what we can do as far as camera is concerned, as we said, even with your phone. But the main thing is all you have to do is show up and be the expert. So if you want us to take care of everything, Podcast Done For You .online, come visit us. Details in the show notes for that. But even if all you want is a list of what is the equipment, what are we using, what makes it work, what is great, all of those top 5 things that we spoke about and more, then just write to me via the show notes. We'll make sure that you have or just follow the link, I should say, in the show notes, and you'll be able to download that piece of that page with all of the recommendations in it and more. Please don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Podcast Done For You, the show. And remember, if you want help getting your podcast up and running like so many have done, then contact us at Podcast Done For You. Until next time, I look forward to your company, and please keep writing in with the topics you want us to cover, because we love doing that and helping as many podcasters as possible to make it happen for you, to make a real difference by being the authority and the go-to person, and as we say, the voice of brilliance in your space. Until next time.
Thanks, Anthony. Even I appreciated those insights. Well, you made me say that. The bonus tip is, don't get sucked in by the tech and focus on the equipment that matters. Or go to podcastsdoneforyou.online and book a time to meet with Anthony to learn how his team can make your podcast dreams a reality without the overwhelm.